The alarm blared through the human ship. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Captain stood on the bridge, looking at the large alien vessel that had appeared beside them. It was 3 times bigger than their exploration ship, covered in dark metal plates that looked like armor. "They're trying to contact us," said the security officer. He stood near the weapons console, his hand hovering over the controls. "Should I raise shields?" Shook her head. "No, we came out here to meet new species. Let's not start by looking aggressive." She pressed the communication button. "This is Captain of the Earth vessel Wanderer. We come in peace." The screen flickered. A face appeared. It was covered in fur with large golden eyes. The creature had pointed ears that stood straight up, and when it opened its mouth, could see rows of very sharp teeth. The creature's nose wrinkled as it made a hissing sound. "You have entered space," the creature said. Its voice was deep and growling. "Prepare to be boarded. Resistance will be met with force." Before could respond, the screen went dark. Looked at her with worry in his eyes. "Captain, we should." "Hold position," said calmly. "Let them come. Tell to get to the docking bay. We need our there for first contact." Made a face. "Are you sure that's a good idea? You know how she gets around new species." Smiled a little. "That's exactly why I want her there." Down in her lab was already running toward the docking bay. Her equipment bag bounced against her hip as she ran. She had seen the alien ship on her monitor and her heart was racing with excitement. A new species, with fur. She loved furry creatures. When she reached the docking bay and were already there, they wore their formal uniforms, looked down at her lab coat covered in stains from her experiments. She tried to smooth it down. "Remember," said quietly, "we don't know their customs. Be respectful, be careful." Nodded, but she was barely listening. She could hear sounds from the other side of the airlock, scratching sounds, then a loud hiss. The airlock door opened with a hiss of air. 5 creatures walked through. They were small, only reaching up to waist. They walked on 2 legs but moved like cats. Their bodies were covered in and black fur. Each one wore some kind of armor made from dark leather and metal. They had long tails that swished behind them as they walked. The one in front was bigger than the others. His fur was darker, almost black with stripes. He had a long scar across his left eye. He looked at the humans and his ears went flat against his head. His lips pulled back to show his fangs. "I am Commander Rax of the," he said. His voice was a low growl. "You will submit to." "Oh my God." His voice was so loud that everyone jumped. She dropped her bag and clasped her hands together. "You're like space cats. Look at your little ears. And your tail." Commander Rax stopped talking. His mouth was still open, showing his fangs. He stared with confusion in his golden eyes. The other looked at each other. One of them, smaller and younger, whispered something in their own language. Rax shook his head as if clearing it. He straightened up and puffed out his chest. His fur stood on end, making him look bigger. He hissed loudly, showing all of his teeth. This was the traditional threat display. Every species in the galaxy knew what it meant. It meant, "I am dangerous. Fear me." Took a step forward. "You're doing a big stretch. Who's a fierce little guy? You are. Yes, you are." Rax's hiss died in his throat. He looked at his warriors, then back at, "What? What is wrong with this human?" Stepped forward, trying to save the situation. "Please forgive my colleague. We are very excited to meet you. I am Captain. On behalf of humanity, we welcome you too." "Can I pet them?" asked, interrupting. She was already moving toward Rax. "Do they like being petted? What about behind the ears? Most species like that." "No," said, but he was trying not to laugh. Rax backed up a step. No one had ever approached him like this before. When he showed his fangs, other species either ran away or prepared to fight. They didn't make happy sounds and move closer. "Stay back, human," Rax said, but his voice wasn't as confident now. "We are warriors, we are hunters, we are the apex predators of our world." "You're so cute," said. She was now right in front of him. "Look at your little nose, it's pink." Rax's ears went flat again. Behind him, one of his warriors made a sound that might have been a laugh, but quickly covered it with a cough. "We are not cute," Rax said. He sounded almost offended. "We are fierce. We are. Why are you not afraid?" Tilted her head. "Afraid? Why would I be afraid? You're adorable." She reached out toward him. Rax jumped backward so fast he bumped into his own warriors. "Everyone back to the ship, now." "But Commander," one of the warriors said, "we haven't completed the boarding protocol. We haven't established dominance. We haven't." "I said now." Rax turned and ran back through the airlock. His warriors followed quickly, looking back at the humans with confusion. The airlock door closed. Through the window, the humans could see the ship pulling away. There was a long silence in the docking bay. "Well," said finally, "that was our first contact with an alien species." "They're coming back, right?" asked. She looked sad. "I didn't get to ask about their diet or their social structure or if they like toys with bells in them." Laughed. "You scared them away. You scared away a ship full of alien warriors." "I didn't mean to," said. "They're just so fuzzy. Did you see their whiskers? I bet they help them sense things in the dark." On the ship, Commander Rax sat in his command chair. His warriors stood around him, waiting for orders. He stared at the human ship on his screen. "Commander," one warrior asked, "what are your orders? Should we attack? Should we call for reinforcements?" Rax was quiet for a long moment. "No," he said slowly. "We need to report this to the Council, the humans. They're not like any species we've encountered before." "They seem weak," another warrior said. "They didn't even try to fight." "That's what worries me," Rax said. He touched his nose where the human female had tried to reach. "They saw our threat display and they smiled. They saw our fangs and they called us cute. Either they're completely insane or they know something we don't." "What should we tell the Council?" Rax thought about it. How could he explain what had just happened? That a human had looked at him, a decorated warrior, and made baby talk sounds. That she had wanted to pet him like some kind of domestic animal. "Tell them we need a diplomatic team," Rax said finally. "And tell them to bring someone who understands human psychology, because I certainly don't." The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed and disappeared. Behind it, the human ship floated peacefully in space. In the docking bay was already making notes in her computer. Subject: appearance, feline-like. Behavior, skittish but probably friendly. Note: try bringing treats next time. Put a hand on her shoulder. "You can't treat alien species like stray cats." "Why not?" asked, looking genuinely confused. "It worked on my cat back home. Started out hissing at me, now he sleeps on my bed every night." Shook his head, still smiling. "Something tells me this is going to be an interesting first contact situation." He had no idea how right he was. 3 weeks had passed since the first meeting. Now the humans stood in a large conference room on Station Haven 7, a neutral meeting place in space. The room was circular with a high ceiling. Windows showed the stars outside. In the center was a round table with seats for different species. Ambassador adjusted his formal uniform for the 10th time. He was nervous. This was humanity's first official diplomatic meeting with an alien government. Everything had to be perfect. "Stop fidgeting," whispered to him. She stood beside him in her captain's uniform. "You look fine." "Easy for you to say," whispered back. "You're not the one who has to do the talking." He looked at who stood on his other side. "Please tell me you'll behave yourself this time." Wore a clean lab coat. She had even brushed her hair. "I'll be professional," she promised. Then she added, "But if they let me pet them, I'm doing it." Before could respond, the door on the opposite side opened. 6 walked in. They wore formal robes instead of armor. The robes were dark blue with silver patterns. Commander Rax was among them, but he wasn't leading this group. The leader was a female. She was taller than Rax, with silver fur and bright green eyes. She walked with confidence, her tail held high. When she reached the table, she looked directly at the humans. "I am first speaker of the council," she said. Her voice was clear and strong. "We come to establish formal relations with humanity." Bowed slightly. "I am ambassador representing Earth and all human colonies. We are honored to meet with you." Nodded. "Before we begin, we must perform the traditional greeting. This is how establish trust and hierarchy with new allies." "Of course," said. "What does the greeting involve?" Walked around the table toward him. "You will understand in a moment. Please remain still." Stood very still. He had studied many first contact protocols. He was ready for almost anything. A ritual dance, perhaps, or an exchange of gifts, or... Reached up and bit his shoulder. It wasn't a hard bite. Her teeth didn't break through his uniform, but it was definitely a bite. Felt the pressure of her jaw. He froze, not sure what to do. Released him and stepped back. She watched him carefully, waiting for his response. Blinked, then he smiled. "Oh, is this like a handshake? That's so interesting. Does the bite location have specific meaning? Are there different types of bites for different occasions?" His ears twitched. You are not frightened." "Should I be?" asked. He touched his shoulder. "You didn't hurt me. I assume this is ceremonial." Behind, the other whispered to each other. Commander Rax looked at, who was smiling widely. "You humans are very strange," said slowly. She returned to her side of the table. "But let us proceed with the negotiations." For the next hour they discussed trade routes, territorial boundaries, and cultural exchange programs. Wu, the human engineer, recorded everything with a camera. The talks went smoothly, mostly because was good at his job. But Commander Rax noticed that kept looking at him. She was trying to be subtle but had excellent eyesight. He could see her hands twitching as if she wanted to reach out. Every time their eyes met, she smiled. It made Rax very uncomfortable. During a break in the negotiations, Rax stood near one of the windows. He was thinking about the treaty terms when he heard footsteps behind him. He turned and saw approaching. "Hello," she said cheerfully. "We didn't get properly introduced last time. I study alien life." "I know who you are," Rax said. He tried to sound stern. "You're the one who called us cute." "Well, you are," said. She came to stand beside him at the window. "Your species evolved from predators, right? Like big cats on Earth." "We are the apex predators of Prime," Rax said proudly. "No other species on our world can match our hunting skills." "That's amazing," said, and she sounded genuinely interested. "What kind of prey did you hunt? How did your pack structures develop? Do you hunt alone or in groups?" Rax found himself answering her questions. She actually listened, taking notes on a small computer. She asked smart questions, the kind that showed she understood evolution and biology. Rax started to relax a little. Maybe humans weren't so bad. Maybe they were just very different. Then said, "Can I see your teeth? I want to understand your jaw structure." Rax hesitated. Then he opened his mouth, showing his fangs. They were sharp and white, designed to tear through flesh. "Wow," said, leaning closer. "Your canines are at least 4 centimeters long, and the arrangement suggests you evolved to bite and hold prey rather than cut it. Fascinating." Rax closed his mouth. He felt oddly pleased that she was impressed, but then he remembered that he was supposed to be intimidating. Warriors were not supposed to feel pleased when someone admired their teeth. He needed to re-establish dominance, to remind this human that he was dangerous. "You should fear these teeth," Rax said. "They have killed many enemies." "I'm sure they have," said. "You're clearly an accomplished warrior." Rax narrowed his eyes. She was too calm, too friendly. It was disturbing. He decided to show her that we're not pets. They were predators. Without warning, he reached out and bit her hand. It wasn't a hard bite. He didn't want to actually hurt her, just to scare her, to make her understand that he was dangerous. The bite was firm enough to be threatening but gentle enough not to break skin. Looked down at her hand in his mouth. Rax waited for her to scream or pull away or show fear. Instead, her face lit up with joy. She said loudly, "You're trying to communicate. This is just like what did to. Is this how you show affection, or is it a dominance thing?" Rax released her hand quickly. He stared at her in disbelief. Before he could move, reached out and booped his nose with her finger. It was a gentle tap, right on the pink tip of his nose. "Good boy," she said, smiling at him. Rax's mind went blank. In his entire life, no one had ever touched his nose. It was one of the most sensitive parts of his body. It was. What did you just do?" he managed to say. "I booped your nose," said, as if this explained everything. "It's a human thing. We do it to show affection." Rax's fur stood on end, but not from anger. He didn't know what he was feeling. Confused, offended, something else. Across the room had noticed the interaction. She came over quickly. "Commander Rax, is there a problem?" She touched my nose," Rax said weakly. Looked at, then back at Rax. "Did she harm you?" "No, but—" "Then there is no problem." Looked at with curiosity. "You are not afraid of us at all, are you, human?" Shook her head. "No, ma'am, you're all wonderful. I hope we can be friends." Tail swished back and forth. "Friends," she repeated. "What an interesting concept." She looked at the other delegates who had all gathered to watch. "Perhaps humans are more formidable than we thought." "Formidable," Rax said. "They called us cute, they boop noses. How is that formidable?" "Because," said quietly, "they faced predators and showed no fear. That either means they are fools or they are more dangerous than they appear." She looked at, who was calmly reviewing documents. "I suspect it is the latter." The negotiations continued after the break, and signed several agreements. Trade would begin within the month. Cultural exchange programs were approved. A team would visit Earth and a human team would visit Prime. But the real news spread through the station's gossip networks. Within hours, everyone knew about the human who had been bitten by a warrior and responded by booping his nose. Some species thought it was foolish. Others thought it was brave. A few thought it was hilarious. But everyone agreed on one thing. Humans were definitely different from any species the galaxy had encountered before. That night, Rax sat in his quarters on the ship. He was writing his official report about the humans. He had filled 5 pages with observations about their behavior, their reactions, their strange lack of proper threat response. He stopped writing and touched his nose, remembering the gentle tap of his finger. "Booped," he said aloud, testing the word. It was a ridiculous word, a silly human word. But somehow he didn't hate it. In her quarters on the human ship was also writing a report. She typed quickly, full of excitement. "Today I successfully made physical contact with Commander Rax," she wrote. "He bit my hand, which I believe was a test. When I responded positively, he seemed confused but not aggressive. I was able to boop his nose without incident. This suggests that can adapt to human social behaviors with proper introduction." She paused, then added, "Also, his nose is very soft, just like a cat's. I knew it." She saved the report and smiled. This was going to be the start of a beautiful friendship. She was sure of it. Even if they didn't know it yet. The cultural exchange program began 2 months after the treaty signing. Commander Rax and 3 of his warriors moved onto the human ship Endeavor. At the same time, 4 humans traveled to Prime. Rax stood in his new quarters on the Endeavor. The room was small but clean. The bed looked soft, which worried him. Warriors should sleep on hard surfaces to stay alert. There was a desk, a chair, and a viewing screen on the wall. Everything was designed for creatures much larger than. "Commander," a young warrior named poked his head through the door. "The humans are gathering in the common area. They invited us to join them for something called movie night." Rax sighed. "Very well, we should observe their social customs." The common area was large, with several soft couches arranged around a big screen. Was there, along with a biologist. Wu the engineer was setting up the viewing screen. A few other crew members were bringing bowls of something that smelled like salt and butter. "Oh good you came," said when she saw the. "We're watching a classic Earth movie. It's about a big adventure. You'll love it." Rax and his warriors sat on one of the couches. It was so soft that Rax sank into it. He tried to maintain a dignified posture, but the cushions seemed designed to make him relax. Next to him looked like he was being swallowed by the couch. The movie started. It was called The Lion King. Within 10 minutes, Rax understood why I had picked this one. It was about big cats. "Why are we watching a movie about primitive felines?" Rax asked. "Because it's beautiful," said. She was already crying during an early sad scene. "And it teaches important lessons about responsibility and family." Sitting nearby with his computer was taking notes. "Commander Rax, can I ask you some questions? I'm studying biology." "I suppose," Rax said, keeping his eyes on the screen. The animation was actually quite impressive. "Your species evolved from predators, correct? Apex predators on your world." "Yes, hunted the great snow beasts of the northern plains. We were pack hunters, working together to bring down prey much larger than ourselves." Typed quickly. "Fascinating. And your pain receptors, how sensitive are they compared to the prey species on your world?" "Very sensitive," Rax said. "We needed to feel even small injuries so we could treat them before they became serious. In the wild, a small wound could mean death." "Interesting," made more notes. "That's the opposite of humans." Rax looked at him. "What do you mean?" "Humans come from a death world," explained. "Earth was much more dangerous than most planets that develop intelligent life. We actually evolved as prey animals first. We had to handle a lot of pain just to survive long enough to reproduce. So our pain tolerance is very high compared to most species." This explained so much. Rax thought about's reaction to his bite. "So when I bit's hand." "She barely felt it," confirmed. "What would be painful for her is just mild pressure for a human." Rax absorbed this information. It was troubling. If humans could tolerate more pain, they would be harder to stop in combat. But that didn't explain their other strange behavior. "What about the affection?" Rax asked. "Why do you try to pet us? Why did call us cute?" Smiled. "That's the really interesting part. Humans evolved to form bonds with other species. When we see small predators, especially ones with big eyes and soft fur, it triggers a parental response in our brains. We want to care for them, protect them, befriend them." "But we are dangerous predators," said from his spot deep in the couch. "We know," said, "but our brains don't care. We domesticated wolves into dogs. We tamed wild cats. We kept all sorts of predators as companions. It's how we survived. We made friends with the animals that could have killed us." Rax was quiet for a long time, thinking about this. On the screen, the lion cub was learning to hunt. In the common room, had fallen asleep on the couch, snoring softly. "Your species is insane," Rax said finally. "We've been told that before," said cheerfully. Far away on Prime, things were going differently. The human researcher Na stood in the middle of a forest, wearing thick protective gear. Her guide, an older warrior named, watched her with deep concern. "That is a," said, pointing at a small creature in the tree. It looked like a mix between a cat and a wolverine, with silver fur and bright red eyes. "They are one of the most vicious predators in this forest. Their bite contains a toxin that paralyzes prey." "It's so cute," Na said. She held up a piece of dried meat. "Here, little guy, come here." "Stop," said. "You will be bitten." "He's just scared," Na said. She made soft clicking sounds with her tongue. "It's okay, baby. I'm not going to hurt you." The tilted its head, watching her. Then, to absolute horror, it climbed down from the tree. It approached Na slowly, sniffing the air. "Please do not move," whispered. "I will call for help." The took the meat from Na's hand. It ate quickly, then looked up at her. Na slowly reached out and scratched behind its ear. The purred. No, said. That is not possible. Do not purr. They do not allow touching. They certainly do not. They climbed up Na's arm and settled on her shoulder, still purring. Na grinned at, I'm going to call him Mr. Whiskers. You cannot name the deadly predator Mr. Whiskers. Too late, I already did. Reported this incident to the council that evening. They did not believe him until he showed them video footage. Then they believed him, but they didn't understand. How is this possible? One council member asked. They should have attacked her. I don't know, said. The humans have some kind of magic. They speak to predators and the predators obey. Not magic, said who was listening to the report. Remember what their biologist told us. They evolved to form bonds with predators. They cannot help themselves. It is in their nature. But this is dangerous, another council member said. If humans can tame any creature, what does that mean for the galaxy? Thought about this. It means we need to understand them better, and perhaps, she paused, perhaps we need to learn from them. Back on the Endeavor, Rax had started his own observations. He kept a detailed log of human behavior. He wrote down everything strange they did. Day 15, humans pet each other. I observed crew members touching each other's shoulders, rubbing each other's backs, even embracing for no apparent reason. This is not for mating purposes. They simply enjoy physical contact. Has begun to enjoy when humans pet him. He denies this, but I see his tail swishing happily. Day 22, discovered humans keep Earth predators called cats as companions on the ship. These creatures are small, furry, and have retractable claws. They are basically miniature. The humans treat them like children. One cat bit today, she said, and gave it a treat. I do not understand these people. Day 30 invited me to something called a petting session. I refused, saying I was a warrior and did not need such things. She said that was fine and began petting one of the ship cats instead. I watched for 20 minutes. The cat purred very loudly. It looked comfortable, pleasant even. I left before she could notice I was interested. Day 35, accidentally fell asleep in the common room. Woke up to find a human had covered me with a blanket. When I asked why, she said I looked cold. Do not get cold easily. I think she just wanted an excuse to do something nice. Humans are obsessed with kindness. Day 40, gave in and allowed to pet my head. I told myself it was for research purposes to understand why has been so happy lately. She scratched behind my ears for 10 minutes. I may have purred, just a little. If anyone asks, I will deny it. Day 45 showed me brain scans of humans when they see. The part of their brain that responds to cute things lights up. The same part that activates when they see human bobbies. We literally trigger their parental instincts. This explains everything. This also means we can never be properly intimidating to humans. I have shared this information with Command. They were not pleased. On day 50, something important happened. A small fire broke out in one of the engine rooms. It was quickly contained, but Wu the engineer got hurt. His arm was badly burned. Rax watched as the human medical team treated him. Wu gritted his teeth but didn't scream, didn't even cry. The burn looked terrible, the skin red and blistered. Does it hurt? Rax asked. Wu managed a weak smile. Yeah, but I've had worse. Broke my leg in 3 places when I was a kid. This is nothing. Nothing. A burn that would have a screaming in agony was nothing to a human. But then came into the medical bay. She saw Wu and her eyes filled with tears. Oh no, are you okay? She asked, rushing to his side. I'm fine, Wu said. Really? Stayed with him while the doctors worked. She held his other hand. She talked to him about random things to distract him from the pain. She made sure he was comfortable. Rax watched this and finally understood. Humans could tolerate physical pain easily, but emotional pain, seeing their friends hurt, that was agony for them. They had high pain tolerance but high empathy too. They were tough and soft at the same time. That night, Rax updated his log one more time. Day 50, I understand now. Humans survived their death world not by being the strongest or the fastest. They survived by caring for each other, by forming bonds with everything around them, even predators. They turned their greatest weakness, their need for connection, into their greatest strength. I do not think the galaxy is ready for this. Tomorrow I will allow to pet me again, for research purposes only, of course. The Galactic Coalition headquarters was the largest space station ever built. It orbited a peaceful star in neutral territory. Hundreds of species had representatives there. The station was a symbol of peace and cooperation. Today, that peace was being tested. Captain stood in the great assembly hall. Around her were delegates from across the galaxy. They were there, with leading their delegation. Commander Rax stood beside her, wearing his formal armor. The humans had been given provisional membership in the coalition 3 months ago. Now they were here for the final vote that would make them full members. But not everyone was happy about this. "I object to human membership," said a deep, hissing voice. A large reptilian creature stood up. He was nearly 8 feet tall, covered in dark green scales. His species was called the They were warriors, known throughout the galaxy for their strength and aggression. The creature who spoke was named. He was a war leader, famous for never losing a battle. "The humans are soft," continued. "They show affection to predators. They avoid proper dominance displays. They are weak. The coalition does not need weak members." Remained calm. She had expected this. "We may express friendship differently than your species, but humans are not weak." "Prove it," said. He walked down the steps toward the center of the hall. "I challenge the humans. Let one of them face me in combat. If they win, I will support their membership. If they lose, they should leave and never return." The hall erupted in whispers. Challenges were rare but legal under coalition law. If issued, they had to be answered. Looked at her security officer. Myra stood near the back of the human delegation. She was small for a human, barely 5.5 feet tall. But she was ex-military, trained in 5 different fighting styles, and had served in some of Earth's most dangerous regions. Myra nodded slightly. She stepped forward. "I accept your challenge," Myra said. Looked down at her. He laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. You are so small, this will be over in seconds." "Then let's not waste time," Myra said. The challenge arena was set up quickly. It was a circular platform, 30 feet across. The rules were simple. The fight continued until one person surrendered or couldn't continue. Killing was not allowed, but serious injury was expected. Rax pushed through the crowd to reach. "Captain, I do not think this is wise. They are extremely strong. Their skin is like armor, and they have a venomous bite that causes extreme pain." "I know," said quietly, "but Myra knows what she's doing." "Their venom affects the pain nerves directly," Rax continued. "Even the slightest bite causes agony. Most species surrender immediately." "Most species," said, "are not human." In the arena, Myra stretched her arms and rolled her shoulders. She wore light combat gear, nothing heavy. She looked completely relaxed. Entered the arena from the other side. He wore no armor. For his species, their scales were armor enough. He flexed his claws, each one as long as a knife. "Last chance to surrender, little human," said. "I'm good, thanks," Myra replied. A neutral judge, a floating crystal being, announced the start of the match. A tone sounded. Charged immediately. He was fast for his size, crossing the arena in seconds. His claws reached for Myra, ready to grab and throw her. Myra smoothly. She moved like water flowing around his attack. As he passed, she struck the back of his knee joint. It wasn't a hard hit, just precise. Stumbled slightly. He spun around, surprised. "You are faster than you look." "I get that a lot," Myra said. They circled each other. The crowd watched in complete silence. Rax noticed that and were in the audience. was gripping the railing tightly, but she didn't look scared. She looked confident. Attacked again, this time with a series of claw swipes. Myra blocked, dodged, redirected. She was using a style that focused on using the opponent's strength against them. Every time swung, she wasn't where he expected. Then got lucky. His tail whipped around faster than Myra anticipated. It caught her in the side, sending her sprawling across the platform. The crowd gasped, moved in quickly. He grabbed Myra's arm before she could roll away. "Now," he said, "you will understand pain." He bit her shoulder. His fangs sank through her combat gear and into her skin. Venom pumped into her bloodstream. It was designed to overload pain receptors, making even breathing feel like torture. Released her and stepped back, waiting for her to scream. Myra stood up slowly. She looked at the bite mark on her shoulder. Blood was seeping through her gear. She poked it experimentally and winced a little. "Huh," she said. "That's more annoying than I expected." Stared at her. You should be in agony, you should be screaming." "Yeah, about that," Myra said, rolling her shoulder to test it. "So I once got bitten by my sister's chihuahua. That's a small earth dog, very angry little creature. That hurt worse than this." She looked at him. "Are we doing this or not?" In the audience leaned toward. "The venom is working," he whispered. "I can see signs of pain on her face, but human pain tolerance is way higher than theirs." Finished. "She can handle it." On the platform was confused. No one had ever reacted this way to his venom. Everyone screamed. Everyone begged. Everyone surrendered. But this human just looked slightly annoyed. His confusion cost him. While he stood there trying to understand, Myra attacked. She moved fast, targeting specific points on his body: joints, nerve clusters, pressure points. She couldn't hurt him with strength, so she used precision instead. Tried to grab her again, but she ducked under his arm. She jumped, using his bent leg as a step, and struck at a cluster of nerves at the base of his skull. It was a spot she had studied in anatomy files. His legs went weak, not from pain but from the nerve disruption. He fell to one knee. Myra landed lightly behind him. "Do you surrender?" Snarled and spun, his tail whipping around. But Myra had expected this. She grabbed his tail mid-swing and twisted. In that moment of imbalance, she swept his other leg. Crashed to the platform, flat on his back. Myra stood over him, her foot resting lightly on his chest. "I'll ask again. Do you surrender?" Looked up at her. His venom was still in her system. He could see the sweat on her face, the slight tremor in her hands. She was in pain. She was just ignoring it. "I surrender," he said quietly. The crowd erupted in noise. Some species cheered, others argued. Everyone was talking at once. Myra helped to his feet. "Good match," she said, offering her hand. Looked at her hand for a long moment, then he took it. "You are not what I expected, human." "None of us are," Myra said. Then she swayed a little. "Though I could really use a medic now. This venom is pretty unpleasant." Medical teams rushed onto the platform. They helped Myra to the medical bay. The bite was treated, the venom neutralized. She would be fine in a few hours. In the assembly hall, the vote was called. With subjection withdrawn, humanity's full membership was approved by overwhelming majority. But it was what happened after that Rax found most interesting. Went to the medical bay himself. He found Myra sitting on a bed, her arm bandaged. She was eating some kind of earth snack and talking with. "Human Myra," said formally, "I came to apologize. I underestimated you and your species." Myra shrugged. "It's okay, lots of people do." She held up the bag of snacks. "Want some? They're cheese crackers, very good." Sat down carefully on a nearby chair. It creaked under his weight. "I have never had anyone withstand my venom like that. How did you do it?" "Pain tolerance," Myra explained. "Humans evolved on a rough planet. We had to be able to keep going even when hurt. It's a survival thing." She paused. "Also, I've given birth. After that, everything else is pretty manageable. Given birth, asked. Creating offspring, explained. Human reproduction is difficult, very painful, takes hours, sometimes days. Myra has 2 children. Looked at Myra with new respect. You endured days of pain to create life. Well, yeah, Myra said. That's kind of how it works for us. Worth it, though. My kids are great. Was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised everyone. My species has been warriors for 10,000 years. We believed strength was everything, but you defeated me not with strength. You did it with endurance, with the ability to continue when others would stop. That is also a kind of strength. Thanks, Myra said. You were really tough too. I wasn't sure I could pull it off. Later, Rax found watching the stars through an observation window. He walked up beside her, his tail swishing thoughtfully. Your species continues to surprise us, he said. Good surprises or bad surprises? Asked. Both, Rax admitted, but mostly good. He paused. I have been thinking about what makes humans different. Your pain tolerance is unusual. Your friendliness is unexpected. But I think I finally understand what makes you truly unique. What's that? You refuse to give up, Rax said. On anything, on anyone. You befriended predators that should have killed you. You survived a death world that should have destroyed you. And today, your warrior took pain that would cripple most species and kept fighting. You simply do not know when to quit. Smiled, that's one way to put it. The galaxy is not ready for humans, Rax said. But perhaps that is a good thing. Perhaps we need someone who does not give up. Someone who looks at the impossible and says, I'm going to pet that. Laughed, that sounds like. That sounds like all of you, Rax corrected. He looked down at his paws. I have a confession. I have been letting pet me for the past 2 weeks, every day. And I may enjoy it more than I initially thought. Reached down and scratched behind his ear. Rax's eyes closed and a purr started deep in his chest. You're all going to be fine, said gently. And somehow Rax believed her. 6 months had passed since humans joined the Galactic Coalition. In that time, things had changed in ways no one expected. Stood at the front of a large lecture hall on the Coalition Academy station. Behind her, a screen showed images of various predator species. In the audience sat students from 20 different worlds, all studying to become diplomats and today we're discussing human threat assessment, began. Or, as my colleagues call it, why we think you're all adorable. Beside her, Commander Rax stood at another podium. He wore the formal robes of a coalition instructor. His tail swished as he prepared his portion of the lecture. The key thing to understand, Rax said, is that humans have completely different threat recognition than any other species. When we show our fangs and hiss, we expect fear or aggression. Humans see this and think we are being playful. A student raised their hand. It was a young, much smaller than, but why? How did this evolve? Pulled up an image of Earth. Our planet was what the Coalition classifies as a Class 9 death world. Everything there wanted to kill us. Large predators, small venomous creatures, even the weather. Early humans were prey animals. But you became apex predators, the student said. How? We cheated, said with a smile. We couldn't outrun the predators. We couldn't outfight them, so we became friends with them. We fed wolves until they became dogs. We tamed wild cats. We made allies with creatures that should have eaten us. Rax took over. This created an unusual psychological response. When humans see small predators, especially ones with fur or features similar to Earth animals, their brains release chemicals that cause affection instead of fear. They literally cannot help themselves. Which is why, added, I keep trying to pet everyone, sorry about that. The class laughed. Even the instructor, a tall crystal being, made a sound like wind chimes, which was their version of laughter. After the lecture, and Rax walked through the station's garden district. It was a large open space filled with plants from dozens of worlds. Rax had been spending more time here lately. He claimed it was for meditation, but suspected he just liked the quiet. "I got a message from," said as they walked. "There's a situation developing near the border of Coalition space." "What kind of situation?" Rax asked. "A new species has been detected. They're large, aggressive, and not responding to standard contact protocols. They've destroyed 3 Coalition scout ships." Rax's ears flattened. "Are we being called in?" "Specifically requested us. You, me, Myra, and a few others. We leave tomorrow." Rax thought about this. 6 months ago, he would have been confident going into any dangerous situation. But that was before he understood how humans operated. Now he was nervous for a completely different reason. "Please tell me you're not going to try to pet the hostile aliens," he said. Grinned, "I make no promises." The next day they boarded the Coalition ship Harmony. It was a diplomatic vessel, armed but designed for peaceful contact. Captain commanded the mission. Myra led the security team. Wu managed the engineering systems, and was the lead with Rax as her assistant. The journey to the border took 3 days. During that time, they reviewed everything known about the new species. They called themselves the Thornback. They were large, covered in bony plates and long spikes. They communicated through deep vibrations that were hard to translate. Their ships were powerful and they seemed uninterested in diplomacy. "They've ignored all attempts at contact," said during the briefing. "They attack any ship that enters what they consider their territory, but we need to establish communication. If we can't, there will be war." "Has anyone tried a direct approach?" Myra asked. "Going to them in person instead of sending messages?" "Too dangerous," one of the Coalition advisors said. "They killed the crew of the last ship that got close." Raised her hand. "What if we sent a small shuttle, just a few people, non-threatening?" "They would likely destroy it," the advisor said. "But maybe they wouldn't," argued. "Maybe they're attacking because they feel threatened by large warships. A small shuttle with no weapons might get a different response." "Consider this, it's risky." "I'll go," Myra said. "I've dealt with hostile contacts before." "I'm going too," added quickly. Rax sighed. "If she's going, I'm going. Someone needs to document her inevitable attempt to pet the dangerous aliens." Looked at them for a long moment, then she nodded. "All right, but take every precaution, and please try not to boop anyone's nose this time." "I'll try," said, but again no promises. 2 hours later, a small shuttle departed from the Harmony. Inside were Myra, Rax, and Wu, who insisted on coming to manage the shuttle's systems. They approached the Thornback territory slowly, broadcasting peaceful intentions on all frequencies. For a long time, nothing happened. Then a massive ship appeared in front of them. It was twice the size of the Harmony, covered in the same bony plates as the Thornback themselves. Weapons ports opened along its hull. "I think they noticed us," Wu said nervously. "Open a channel," Myra said calmly. "Let me try something." The screen flickered and a Thornback appeared. It was enormous, at least 10 feet tall. Its body was covered in plates that looked like stone. Long spikes protruded from its shoulders and back. Its face was angular, with deep-set eyes that glowed orange. When it opened its mouth, they could see rows of flat, grinding teeth. The Thornback made a deep rumbling sound that shook the shuttle. The translation computer struggled, then produced text: "Leave, now, or die." "We come in peace," Myra said. "We only want to talk. You invade, you threaten, you die." The Thornback's spikes rattled, making a sound like bones clicking together. Leaned forward to see the screen better. Her eyes went wide. "Oh my God," she whispered. "No," Rax said immediately, recognizing that tone. "You're like a space porcupine," said, her voice full of wonder. "Look at those defensive quills. They must be for protection from larger predators. and those plates are probably designed to deflect bites. Your species must have evolved as prey animals." The thornback stopped making threatening sounds. It stared at what? "You're not predators at all," continued, pulling up her computer and typing quickly. "You're herbivores, right? Those teeth are for grinding plant matter. And your size, the armor, the spikes, all defensive adaptations. You're like the elephants of space." There was a long silence. "No one has said this before," the thornback said slowly. "All others see us and assume we are monsters, killers." "Because you're big and spiky," said. "But that's not fair. Being big and having defensive features doesn't make you evil. It just means your ancestors had to survive against scary predators." She paused. "I bet you're actually really gentle, aren't you?" The thornback's orange eyes seemed to soften a little. "We are a peaceful people. We only want to protect our territory. We only want to live without fear." "Then why attack our ships?" Myra asked gently. "Because you came in warships. Because you brought weapons. Because every species we have met tried to conquer us or kill us. We learned to strike first." Rax spoke up. "I understand. My species, though we are predators, we thought we were the most fearsome warriors in the galaxy. Then we met humans," he gestured at, "and they looked at us and called us cute." "I still think you're cute," said. "Yes, thank you," Rax said dryly. "My point is, sometimes what we think we are and what others see are very different. Perhaps the galaxy has been seeing you wrong too." The thornback was quiet for a moment. Then it said, "Come aboard our ship. We will talk, but only you four, no weapons." Myra looked at the others, agreed. They docked with the thornback ship. When they stepped into the airlock, 3 thornback were waiting. Up close, they were even more impressive. Their armor plates were covered in intricate patterns like carved stone. Their spikes were decorated with metal rings. The largest thornback, the one from the screen, stepped forward. "I am leader of my people's fleet." She said, then introduced the others. Can I ask you a question?" "Yes." "Can I touch your armor? I want to understand its structure." Looked surprised, but he knelt down, bringing himself closer to his height. "You may." Reached out carefully and touched one of the plates on his arm. It was warm and slightly rough, like sandstone. "Amazing," she breathed. "It's living bone, isn't it? It grows with you." "Yes," said. He sounded pleased that someone understood. "It protects us, but it also makes others fear us." "I don't fear you," said. She smiled up at him. "I think you're wonderful." His eyes seemed to glow brighter. "In all my years, no one has said this to me." The meeting lasted for hours. They talked about territory, about resources, about the misunderstandings that had led to conflict. The Thornback had attacked because they thought the coalition was invading. The coalition had been cautious because they thought the Thornback were aggressive. Both had been wrong. "We judge you by your actions now, not your appearance," Myra said. "If you're willing to negotiate, the coalition will listen." "And I promise," added, "we'll make sure everyone knows you're not monsters. You're just people who want to be left in peace." Nodded slowly. Perhaps we can try peace." When they returned to the Harmony, was waiting anxiously. "Well, we're having a treaty negotiation next week," Myra said. "The Thornback are willing to talk." "How did you manage that?" one of the coalition advisors asked. "Called him a space porcupine and asked to pet his armor," Rax said. "Somehow it worked." The advisor stared at them. That shouldn't work." "And yet," Rax said, "it does every time." 1 week later, the treaty was signed. The Thornback became trading partners with the coalition. Their territory was respected. In exchange, they opened 3 trade routes that had been closed for decades. More importantly, the galaxy learned an important lesson. Sometimes the most fearsome-looking species are the ones who most need kindness. And sometimes, the best diplomats are the ones who see past appearances to the beings underneath. On the evening after the treaty signing, and Rax sat in the station's garden again. They watched the artificial sunset that the garden projected every evening. "You humans are going to change everything," Rax said quietly. "You already have." "Is that a bad thing?" asked. "No," Rax said. He thought about everything that had happened in the past 6 months, the cultural exchanges, the friendships formed, the way his warriors no longer tensed when humans approached, but instead leaned into their pets, the way the galaxy was slowly learning that connection was stronger than intimidation. "It's a good thing," he continued. "The galaxy was full of warriors, everyone trying to be the most fearsome, the most powerful, but you humans, you looked at all of us and decided to be friends instead, even when we tried to scare you, even when we bit you." "Well," said with a smile, "you are very petable." Rax purred softly. "You're never going to let me live that down, are you?" "Never," confirmed. She reached over and scratched behind his ear. "But that's what friends do. We tease each other, and we never give up on each other." Rax leaned into the pets, his eyes closing. "You know, 6 months ago, if someone told me I would be sitting here letting a human scratch my ears, I would have challenged them to combat. And now I think this might be the best part of my day." Laughed the mighty Commander Rax, conquered by ear scratches. "Conquered by friendship," Rax corrected, "which I am learning is much more powerful than any weapon." High above them, ships from dozens of species docked at the station. Warriors walked alongside human engineers. Soldiers trained with human special forces. Thornback traders shared meals with coalition merchants. The galaxy was learning to work together. All because one species looked at predators and saw friends. All because humanity refused to be afraid. All because had booped a warrior's nose and somehow, impossibly, it had worked. In the official coalition records, the entry for humanity now read: species, human, classification, diplomatic anomaly, special notes, extremely high pain tolerance, unusual threat assessment, and unprecedented ability to form bonds with other species. Warning: will attempt to befriend everything, including hostile forces. Note: let them. It works. And attached to that record was a video. In it, Commander Rax sat in a chair while gave a demonstration on proper ear-scratching technique for. Rax was purring so loudly the microphone distorted the sound. Below the video, someone had added a comment. "This is the weirdest timeline, but also somehow the best one." And really everyone agreed. That summed it up perfectly.